Right, hello, welcome to the Leopard Reviews. I'm Peter Lepard. Right, first off, I'd like to say a big thank you to a lot of people who helped me out recently with a Facebook poll that I held to try and decide which would be my first film to review. I put down a list of, well, I asked people to give me a list of films that, they didn't really think that much of, and I personally, had seen before. And so I could have something to talk about. It's easier to talk about something you hate than to, go on about something that's amazing. So yeah, the results of the poll came in, and the winner was Twilight, the 2008 film starring Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. Now, I know that Twilight seems to have a completely polar fan base. Well, not fan base, but yeah, polar opinions towards it. There is the die-hard fans who love it, would do anything to have, their own little Edward in their life, and to be honest, obsess over it far too much for my opinion. And there are others who utterly despise it and want to see every single copy of Twilight burned and all of the reels of film, thrown into a bin of acid. I would consider myself probably leaning a little bit more towards the latter category, but I also want to try and give a fair review. I don't want to. Well, I want to try and avoid bringing any of my bias into it. So yeah, right. So I just finished watching Twilight, and so I want to give you a few of my thoughts about the film. So right. I think I should probably start by saying that I haven't read any of the books, and I also haven't seen any of the other subsequent films. I think the latest film has just come out in cinemas, actually. Breaking Dawn Part 1, I think, kind of following on the Harry Potter trend of dividing the last book to, I don't know, get more in, but what we really know is just to make a bit more cash. So yeah, I'm aware of the relationships and stuff that develop kind of along the lines between the characters, the Edward, Bella and Jacob love triangle, and something about a demon baby eating its way out of her or something. I don't know. I'm just dealing with the first film to begin with, or I might mention the other films at some other point. Right, okay, so let's start off with the plot. So the story begins with a girl called Bella Swan moving to live with her father because she can't live with her mother anymore because they're going on the road. Yeah, her mother and her boyfriend are going on the road because he's a baseball player or something, and I suppose it would be disruptive to have her, I don't know, to her schooling or whatever. So, I mean, first sort of initial reactions. The way it is shot, the film itself, a lot of the panoramas and like the scenery is really lusciously shot, and I really love the kind of the feeling that they've captured with it. This kind of, I think a lot of it was filmed in Oregon, and it's kind of got these beautiful misty mountains and a lot of dense forests that really adds this kind of dense atmospheric feel to it, and I really like that. I have to say it was effective for me, sort of drew me in. But yeah, okay, so Bella goes off to live with her dad in a town called Forks, which I think is supposed to be on the Washington coast. I'm not actually sure whether it's a real town or not, and starts at the local high school. Now, here is my biggest problem with the Twilight saga, and it's a pretty big problem. It's the characters. The characters are just, so many of them say things and do things. The choices they make are just so stupid, and you just sit there screaming at the screen, just wondering why they're saying these things and acting the way they are. I mean, maybe you don't do that, but yeah, I do that. So yeah, and Bella's attitude towards the entire world just seems so utterly backwards. Throughout the film, she seems to spend most of the time just complaining about stuff, and just things. Sorry, excuse me. So yeah, throughout the film, she's just spending all of her time complaining about the things or things going on around her, or the feelings that the whole world is completely against her, and oh no, I hate everything, and oh, everything's probably going to be really shit for me here. Well, of course it is, if you convince yourself that it is going to be before you've even done it. I mean, she gets to this school, and all the people seem completely welcoming and want to be friends with her, but she's like, no, I want to suffer in silence, oh, I don't like you people. Why not? Why don't you like these people? What is actually wrong with them? Well, I think the answer isn't, well, that's not really the question, is it? The question is, what is wrong with you? Because you seem to have some, complete grievance against people who've only wished you well so far. So, yeah, she's moved away from her mother because, yeah, like I said before, she's going on the road with her boyfriend. And I suppose she didn't want to be constantly changing schools all the time, thought it would be disruptive to her schooling. But that sort of doesn't really make any sense when she then goes to this new school where her dad lives, and she just doesn't want to make friends with anybody. I mean, surely she must have been consulted about the whole idea of going to move away to go to another school because it would disrupt her schooling. I mean, it seems to imply in the beginning that there was quite an element of her own personal choice. She wanted to go and spend some time with her father as much as she loved her mum. So I don't really understand why she's constantly complaining all the time. And she gets to this new school and says, yeah, like I say, she wants to suffer in silence and isolate herself basically from everyone around her. It's not even as though the people around her dislike her. She's frustrated over absolutely nothing. I suppose it could come from the awkward relationship that she has with her father, but she clearly states early on, when we've just met her father, that she likes the fact that her father doesn't linger, as she says. Basically doesn't give a shit. So the only reason I can see for her being so down on everything is because she wants to feel this way. She's convinced herself that the whole world is against her and tries to disconnect herself from it. She is so ludicrously self-obsessed that her interest is only piqued when she meets someone who seems to be as equally self-outcasting as herself. And yeah, here is when we meet the eventual object of her affection, Edward Cullen. I mean, it's not surprising that so many teenage girls have swooned over this image of Robert Pattinson as Edward because, the moment the camera sees him walking in through the door across the cafeteria, it almost, it starts to melt with how, gorgeous he is. It looks like the cameraman's almost about to fall over because, camera woman perhaps, they've just seen this god walk in through the door and are about to fall over because of how blindingly gorgeous he is. And it's a very deliberate thing, obviously. They've made him to be this kind of teen sex symbol. But yeah, Bella is completely transfixed. She's then told how separate the Cullens are for the rest of society, and how they don't like to mingle with everybody else, though for some reason they go to high school. And her little isolationist heart, she loves it. She gets so excited. And right, so yeah, she has her first biology lesson with the handsome Cullen boy, and all time stands still. Literally, she walks in through the classroom door, and there's a big long pause, and he looks at her and she looks at him, and then the fan wafts her scent towards him, and well, he kind of, I'm not really sure what he does, to be honest. I mean, you look at the clip and you're kind of thinking, did he just get a boner? Is he sat there with an awkward boner right now? Has this suddenly become like an 18 certificate film? Is this going to get weird? Or is he just throwing up like a little bit because he saw her and she was, I don't know, yeah, he smelled her and she was disgusting and oh god, can't have it, oh no, oh. But yeah, I don't know, I'm still going to say it's probably an awkward boner, he's trying to hide it underneath the table. Although he shouldn't really have one because, he's a vampire, doesn't have any blood pressure, which kind of, yeah, I'm going to bring out the films that have just come out now, because how can he father a child if he hasn't got any blood flowing to any part of his body? But that's an entirely different question, and one that's very weird. Yeah, but this this initial kind of scene kind of lays out the way that every other scene with these two is going to play out for the entire film, because every single motion, every gesture, every glance is so incredibly emphasised that it's a wonder either of them don't just, pass out from a heart attack and drop to the floor. And yeah, it's awkwardness would probably be the word that I would use to sum up a lot of this film. It is so awkward. I suppose it's supposed to show the kind of awkwardness of being a teenager, and I can appreciate that. It is kind of awkward when you're a teenager, and you see a boy that you see a girl that you like,